15 major brands you didn't know were from Germany. Let's react.
Hallo, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Feli. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio since 2016. And even here on the other side of the Atlantic, I come across German brands and companies pretty much every day.
There are a lot of Germans in America, a lot. I have even a reaction on a video. I will leave it somewhere here. You can find it.
Those are more obvious, such as car brands like BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, or Porsche. I think most people very much know that those are German, right? Then there are some brands or
Well, for a long time, I didn't know that Porsche was German. I was guessing. I thought for a moment it is Italian. But yeah, now I know for sure it's German.
Businesses in this case, where I think it's slowly becoming more known that they're German, such as the grocery stores Aldi or Lidl. I even have a whole video about how the American Aldi compares to the German one. Definitely check that out if you're interested.
I was living in the UK for 4 years, and I always thought that Aldi is UK shop, okay? And now my whole world just got ruined. I don't know what to believe anymore.
But for some brands, I think most people would never guess that they're from Germany. But that's why I'm here to fill you in. And some of these even shocked me, like especially for number 15. My whole life, I had no idea that this was German. The first one is a meal kit service that I'm sure many of you have tried before, but even if you haven't, you've definitely come across it in an ad before. I've even collaborated with them a few times, so you may have seen them on my channel even. Of course, I'm talking about HelloFresh. In the last few years, this company has been everywhere, it feels like, both here in the US and in Germany, but they
Never heard about HelloFresh.
Also operate in Canada, Australia, the UK, France, Sweden, and several other countries. And especially with that English name, who would have thought that the company was founded in good old Germany, in Berlin to be exact, in the year 2011.
What is this company even doing?
If you knew that, please let me know in the comments below. But I had no idea until I researched them for my first collaboration with them a couple years ago. And the same goes for this.
I love her energy, man. Her energy is just so high that I feel it through the screen. I'm watching her. I want to jump up and do something.
Next company, if you've seen my videos, you may actually know that they're German because I have mentioned it before. I'm talking about one of the biggest language learning apps in the world.
Duolingo?
Not the one with the owl, the other one. Babbel, or Babbel as it's pronounced in the original German, because this company was also founded in Berlin, Germany in 2007. Originally, they were just an online language learning website. Nowadays, most people, of course, use it as an app on their smartphone. To this day, Babbel is headquartered in Berlin, but they do also have a US location in New York. Here in the US, two of my favorite American actors even advertise for them.
I've got home internet from T-Mobile. It only costs $50 at T-Mobile.
Of course, we're talking about T-Mobile, as it's pronounced here in the US.
Oh, wow.
In Germany, the UK.
I thought it's from USA. Amazing. We don't have Latvia T-Mobile. We have Tele2, Bitte, and some other local telephone providers, but T-Mobile is more popular in Europe. I know in UK probably T-Mobile is also popular.
And I think most other countries, it's usually pronounced T-Mobile. When I first moved here in 2016, my very first cell phone plan was with T-Mobile, and it took me a while to get used to the new pronunciation, because in my mind, I was already pronouncing it the English way, but I guess not the American way. It's always belonged to the telecommunication company Deutsche Telekom, which is partially state-owned and used to have a monopoly on landline phone services and at the beginning on internet in Germany. T-Mobile used to be their subsidiary for cell phone service, but since 2010, the company has moved everything back under one roof, which is why the cell phone provider in Germany is now simply called Telekom. But you can clearly tell that they belong to the same company. Even the logos are pretty much the same still. In the US, Deutsche Telekom actually purchased an American wireless company called VoiceStream in 2001 and renamed it to T-Mobile. And here it does still carry that name to this day and is the second biggest cell phone provider after Verizon here. Okay, this next
Amazing that so many German companies went to these big markets like USA and were able to get a lot of clients and become a player, get good profits from that. That shows the level of professional altitude in these companies, that they are driven and they want to grow and they are ready to compete against bigger companies. That's phenomenal.
next one is on the list because I think most people have no idea that this brand is German, but I feel like you guys probably do know if you've seen my videos about the pronunciation of this brand. I'm talking about Adidas, as we say in German, or Adidas, as Americans say. Needless to say, it's one of the biggest sports brands in the world, but most people don't know that it was founded in 1920s Germany by the brothers Adolf and Rudolf Dassler in
I can even tell you more. Adidas was a sponsor of 1980s Olympic in Russia, in the USSR, and they basically provided shoes for USSR soldiers that were fighting in Afghanistan in USSR-Afghan war. But the only thing that they did, they removed the label from the shoes. Adidas removed the label from the shoes so that people wouldn't associate Adidas with the war, but they still provided a lot of shoes to the USSR soldiers, by the way.
Herzogenaurach, close to Nuremberg. Well, at the time, their business was called Gebrüder Dassler Schuhfabrik, and they made custom sports shoes for athletes, particularly soccer players and runners. They had started to integrate the brand new concept of spikes to their shoes, which was pretty revolutionary at the time, and in 1928, their shoes were even used in the Olympics for the first time. Now, one thing about German history is that almost all of the German companies that managed to survive the Third Reich and World War II had some affiliation with the Nazis, whether it was voluntarily or out of necessity. So it's not surprising that both of the Dassler brothers were members of the NSDAP, the Nazi party, and they even joined the National Socialist Motor Corps, which was a paramilitary organization. Additionally, Adolf was an official in the Hitler Youth. So probably
also Hugo Boss were making uniforms for Nazi soldiers and for Nazi army also.
Was it a coincidence that they ended up having the nation's only operating shoe factory during the war and mainly produced sports and specialty shoes for the Wehrmacht? Now, the brothers had some disagreements before the war too, but after the war is when they eventually decided to part ways for good. And that's when Adolf, whose nickname was Adi, founded Adidas, which is actually an acronym of his first and last name. Adi Dassler became Adidas. He ended up implementing screw-on spikes, which were a game changer for soccer players at the time. And
I had no idea that Adidas is the guy's surname, but if you think about it, it kind of makes sense because a lot of brands are surname. There are a lot of brands which are surnames of people who created those brands.
His shoes were even used by the German national team. But Rudi also founded his own company under the name Ruder, also based on his name, but he later changed the name to Puma, which is actually number 5 on my list because I feel like this is even more unknown than Adidas.
Yeah.
Both of these companies became the biggest sports shoe and clothing manufacturers in Germany and some of the biggest worldwide. Also,
let me know in comment section which of these brands are still more popular in Germany. I bet it's Adidas because Puma, I don't see it too much. I love the logo. I love the animal thing about this brand. But I have not seen it at so much as Adidas. Adidas is everywhere, I feel, but Puma is like bit of there, bit of here, not much, in Latvia at least.
Germany and some of the biggest worldwide. Also, fun fact, this isn't the only story of 2 German brothers running a business together and then parting ways over a disagreement. The same thing happened to the Aldi brothers, who, as a result, split their family business into Aldi Nord and Aldi Süd, so North and South. And to this day, the country of Germany is divided by the Aldi equator, so you won't find any Aldi North in the southern part of the country and vice versa. If you want to know
Wow.
more about all of that, be
Oh.
sure to check out this video.
That's
okay, now
interesting.
I always thought that it was well known that this brand was German until I found out that a lot of Americans apparently believe that it's Japanese. I'm talking about Haribo. Yes, the gummy bears. I don't know, maybe people think it's Japanese because the name kind of sounds like it could be a Japanese word.
No. I mean, how it could be Japanese Haribo? Maybe just a bit of Japanese. I agree, but I always thought it's German because it's written on the other side of this pack. At least in Latvia, you can, when you buy it, there's a label and there's a flag and it's written where it's from. So back in the day, it was just written on the pack.
Haribo? In reality, though, this is yet another acronym, and it stands for Hans Riegel from Bonn, the founder of Haribo.
Wow.
Bonn is a city close to Düsseldorf and Cologne and actually used to be Germany's capital for a while. The company is best known for their bear-shaped gummy candies, Gummibärchen as we call them in German, for licorice candy, and in the 80s they also bought...
Oh, I hate these candies. I cannot eat them. They are very weird taste. At least it was 10-15 years ago. I don't know, maybe now my taste changed and I could eat these kind of candies, but they are so strange. Let me know, guys, who loves these candies and why do you love them? They are weird.
Mawam, which is this really
Oh,
chewy
yes.
fruit-flavored
Oh, yes,
candy. I was never
Mawam.
the biggest fan, and I honestly don't know if that's a thing here in
I
the
love
US.
them.
Let me know in the comments if you guys
I love them. Literally take a lot of them and put them in the mouth, stuck it full while you cannot talk.
know Mawam here. Next up, we have a brand that you guys might have in your bathrooms, and that is Nivea. Or in the
Oh,
US, I
yeah.
think most people say Nivea.
Nivea.
Nivea was first introduced in the year 1911 and belongs to the Hamburg-based company Bayersdorf, who also owns Eucerin, Hansaplast, or Labello, among other brands. Their most iconic product is probably this simple Nivea creme, which is an all-round facial and body moisturizer, but they really make all kinds of personal care products nowadays. This is a
I
brand
didn't
that I
know
was
that.
actually very
No.
surprised to see here in the US because in my mind, it was always connected to the German Postal Service, and that brand is DHL. DHL actually has their main US hub right here at the Cincinnati airport. Now, the story of DHL is a little more complicated though, because yes, they are headquartered in Germany, in Bonn to be exact, but DHL as a company was originally founded in San Francisco in 1969. But in the late 90s and early 2000s, the German Postal Service, Deutsche Post, actually bought more and more shares of DHL until they had full ownership. That's also why in 2002, the DHL logo was changed so that it represented the typical yellow brand color of the Deutsche Post. So today, DHL is a division of the Deutsche Post AG, but it still operates here in the US too, and all over the world really. In fact, it's one of the largest logistic companies worldwide. Okay, this is another one.
I thought it's American. DHL, it's American, I thought. Well, I was kind of right if it was found in San Francisco, but then moved to Germany. Well, I was so close.
One of those brands where I always thought it was clear and well known that this company is German, but when I came to the US, I found out that that's not necessarily the case. Maybe that also has to do with how their reputation kind of changed over the last 20 years or so, because the brand I'm talking about is Birkenstock, or in German, Birkenstock, which for me growing up was
No
quite
idea.
literally the epitome of uncool German sandals. Like the German stereotype of socks and sandals, that's this. They were also very popular to use as house shoes.
I love this style, literally. I don't know why people hate on sandals with the socks. It's just kind of, I don't know, cozy, feels good. Dads over 40 usually wear this kind of outfit.
Which is a very common thing in Germany, and they were just always known for being comfortable, good for your feet because of the supportive footbed, and for being very high quality and durable. But they were never considered fashionable or cool in that sense. But somehow the brand has managed to turn that around, and today Birkenstocks have become this international fashion.
These shoes literally looks like Cybertruck. I think they try to become the new Elon Musks in the shoe world.
Staple. So to whoever is responsible for that, good job. In 2023, the company even became publicly traded. Originally, it was founded all the way back in the late
Birkenstock.
1800s by Konrad Birkenstock, who came from a long line of shoemakers. And even though the family sold the company to a private equity firm in 2021, their headquarters still are in the German state of Rheinland-Pfalz, so Rhineland-Palatinate to this day. Let's stick with fashion for a moment, because the next brand on the list is
Zara.
Hugo Boss, which sells clothing, accessories, and colognes, among other
No, Zara, I think it's Italian.
things. It was founded, surprise, by a guy named Hugo Ferdinand
No
Boss in the
way,
1920s.
no way. I thought maybe Frederick, maybe, I don't know, Adolf, but not Hugo, come on.
In Metzingen, which is in the state of Baden-Württemberg. After the stock market crash of 1929, the business was struggling, but during the Third Reich, Boss joined the Nazi Party and produced brown shirts, as well as uniforms for the Wehrmacht and the SS. And just
Yes.
like many other German companies who survived this time, they used forced labor during this period and thereby directly benefited from the Nazi regime and managed to survive the war. After the
Just a couple of words about the uniform. Uniform was looking good. You know, I'm not saying that the people who were wearing it were good or something, and they did good things, but uniform, it looked goddamn good till this day, man. It looks strict. It looks good, man.
war, the company eventually focused on ready-made men's suits, which is probably what they're most famous for to this day. If you've ever taken aspirin, or in German we would say Aspirin, you've definitely come across this logo by the company Bayer. They were first founded in the
maybe
year
one time.
1863 and are one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world today, headquartered in Leverkusen, Germany. Fun fact, their name is also part of the soccer club Bayer 04 Leverkusen, because the team is actually a subsidiary company of Bayer. Not only did they invent aspirin in the late 1800s,
And Bayer Leverkusen is a very good football team. Very good.
but they also created the first widely used antibiotic called Prontosil. And in 1989, they trademarked their new cough suppressant, heroin, and marketed it as a non-addictive alternative to morphine for over 10 years, which of
Okay.
course turned out not to be entirely the case. During the Third Reich,
I have a surprise for you. They were lying.
Bayer was actually heavily involved in using forced labor, and they even conducted medical experiments in concentration camps. Lovely. Now, I would
Wow.
assume that this one
Wow.
isn't a huge surprise because the German origin is literally in the name, but I feel like it's become such a household name that many people might not even think about it. So I'm here to tell you that the investment bank Deutsche Bank is German and
no way.
headquartered in Frankfurt. They're huge here in the US.
Maybe she's wanna say that Lufthansa is also German. I wouldn't believe. Never.
Which, as someone who wasn't very involved in the financial world when I first came here, was actually a surprise to me. But Americans usually call it Deutsche Bank or Deutscher Bank or something like that.
Deutsche Bank.
In German, it would be Deutsche Bank, and it literally just translates to German bank. That's it. It was founded in Berlin in 1870, so before Germany was even a unified country, and today it's dual listed on both the Frankfurt Stock Exchange and the New York Stock Exchange. Let's move on to a more fun category, and that is beverages. The first one being coffee. Now, I personally don't drink coffee, but I'm sure most of you guys do, and when you go to the store to get coffee filters, I'm sure you've come across these ones by Melitta. In Germany, Melitta also sells
No.
coffee. I feel like I don't really see that here in the US, but
We don't have in Latvia this Melitta coffee. We have some other maybe German, but I'm not sure. Not so good in coffee. Won't lie. Nescafe, maybe it's German. Let me know in the comment section. Probably not.
I also don't usually go to the coffee aisle a lot, so I'm not an expert. But fact is, they're a major coffee brand which was founded in 1908 by a woman named Melitta Benz. She actually invented the coffee filter that same year. This is what it looked like at first, and in the 1930s, she then changed its shape to the iconic cone shape with the added ribs and created filter paper that perfectly fits in there. The company is still located in Minden in North Rhine-Westphalia.
Amazing.
Okay, this one is kind of in the gray zone because it's not technically a German-owned brand, but it was invented in Germany. Fanta, or Fanta. It all goes back to
Big
the
surprise,
year
big surprise.
1942, when Germany ran out of Coca-Cola syrup due to the trade embargo that the US had established against the Nazi regime. So the CEO of Coca-Cola Germany, Max Keidt, and their chief chemist, Wolfgang Schädelig, came up with a new drink that was mainly made from byproducts such as whey and apple pomace mixed with sugar beets and different concentrated fruit juices. And they called it Fanta as a reference to the German word Fantasie, so fantasy. Flavor-wise, it didn't really have a whole lot in common with what Fanta tastes like today, but it kept the business running throughout the war. In 1943 alone,
Back in the day, Fanta was better. I think Coca-Cola was better also. What do you think? Let me know in comment section.
3 million cases of Fanta were sold in Germany, even though apparently it oftentimes wasn't even bought as a beverage, but was used for cooking instead to add sweetness and flavor because sugar was severely rationed at the time. After the war, the Coca-Cola company regained full control over the German plant and the trademark to Fanta, but they actually decided to discontinue it in 1949. Until 1955, when a beverage company in Naples, Italy had the idea to create an orange-flavored drink, which was then bought again by Coca-Cola in 1960, and that's the origin of the Fanta flavor we all know today. Well, kind of, because almost every country actually has their own flavor of Fanta, and I'm not just talking about the difference of American soda being made with high fructose corn syrup, while in Europe...
How many flavors of Fanta you have? We have like, what, maybe 3? Maybe 4 sometimes, but 3 most of the time, I think. When I lived in UK, they have like 10, I think. And I was surprised. I thought, why we don't have this in Latvia?
They make it with sugar. Like, no, Fanta in the US tastes and looks completely different from Fanta in Germany. And then that one's different from the Fanta in Italy, and that one's different from the Fanta in Russia, and so on. In fact, there are over 200 different Fanta flavors worldwide.
Wow.
And last but not least, let's talk about a beverage that I personally had no idea was German until like a year ago, and I'm still mind blown by it. Capri Sun, or more accurately,
Capri Sun.
Growing up, that was a super popular drink among
super popular in Latvia. Kids love it. People love it. It's good. It's good.
Kids, and like most people, I never even thought about where it came from. When I then saw it here in the US under the name Capri Sun, I just automatically thought, oh, it must be American, and when they expanded to Germany, they just translated the name from Capri Sun to the German Capri Sonne. Little did I know that it was actually the other way around in this case. Capri Sonne was actually invented in Heidelberg in 1969 by Rudolf Wild, who also produced Libella, a fruit-flavored soft drink that was wildly popular in the 50s and 60s and still exists today. At the time, Capri Sonne stood out due to its revolutionary pouch design that made it really handy to drink on the go, and because the company made sure that it consisted of all natural ingredients. Which of course doesn't mean that it's not full of sugar. The drink quickly expanded to other countries, and in the late 70s, it also came to the US under the name Capri Sun. And the world-renowned boxer Muhammad Ali actually started advertising it. He would say that, just like himself, Capri Sun was the greatest of all time.
When you see these in your countries, in your stores, go buy it because it is the greatest like me of all time.
I love it.
Unfortunately, it turns out that since 2017, the product isn't actually called Capri Sonne in Germany anymore. Supposedly, they wanted the brand to have a consistent name around the world, so even in Germany, it's called Capri Sun now. I think they should have just changed.
I have seen this in the shops. I tried it a couple of times. It wasn't not too bad. And kids love to buy it a lot and drink it. You know, like parents for their kids, like kids are around 6 and 7 years of age.
Change the name to Capri Sonne everywhere else. Okay, let me know in the comments which of these brands surprised you the most and which of them you already knew were from Germany. Don't forget to check out LingoPie 7 days for free with the link.
The biggest surprise for me was that Aldi is a German shop. I'm like, what? Aldi? And they are 2 brothers and there's different 2 shops. My world has been ruined, literally ruined. I didn't know that. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell for notification, and see you in next reaction videos.